Happy May. Today is Friday, May 1st, 2020, and in the words of Justin Timberlake, it's gonna be May. But it is May. So, on this day in history, in New York City, the Empire State Building was opened and it was dedicated by President Hoover. And what he actually did was from the White House in Washington, D.C., he flipped a switch and the lights turned on the outside of the Empire State Building. Now, that was actually more symbolic. The switch that he flipped didn't actually turn on the lights. At the moment that he flipped the switch in Washington, D.C., someone in New York City actually just turned on the lights to the building. But it was symbolic, and that was the opening of the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building has lots of different businesses in it and offices, but you can go up to the 102nd floor and you can see an overview of New York City. So maybe someday you can do that, or maybe you already have. Our word part of the day is very fitting. It is another root. It is a Greek root, and it is the root pan, P-A-N, and it means all. For example, a pandemic affects us all. Or a panorama, like a panorama photo that you take, where you stand with your camera like this and you turn it, you go all around, or you get the whole entire view. So pan, P-A-N, is the root that means all. Like a pandemic, like we are currently experiencing. I have a interesting would you rather question for you today. So, would you rather have a camera on your eyes recording what you see, or a recorder in your ears recording what you hear? So it's either a camera on your eyes recording everything you see, no sound, it only has the sense of sight, so it can only record what you see. Or would you have a recorder on your ears recording only the audio, so only what you hear? Which would you rather have and why? That's tough. I don't think I would want to have a recorder on my eyes because, like I've mentioned to my kids, I have a horizontal nystagmus, or a camera on my eyes. Yeah, I have a horizontal nystagmus, so my eyes shake. So any camera footage taken from my eyes would just kind of look like this. So it wouldn't really be quality footage. So maybe due to that, I would choose the recorder in my ears so I could hear the sounds of things. Like I could go to the beach and record the sounds of the ocean, or I could record conversations that I'm having with my grandmas, or something like that. So what would you rather have, a camera in your eyes or a recorder in your ears? Sophie, stop. Okay, our wonder precept of the day is from Grandma Nellie. It says, play the tiles you get. So, play the tiles you get. You can interpret that as you may. I interpret that in saying you can't always control the things that are given to you or the situations that you're put in, but you can deal with whatever circumstances you're given. So, just like in a card game, you can't control the cards that you get, but you can play with what you have and you can make it work. So that's how I interpret that. I decided, since I worked with a bunch of people on the poetry assignment this week, and I heard so many great poems, I thought I would read more from my favorite poetry book, A Pizza the Size of the Sun by Jack Prelutsky. So I'm going to read you one called Grandpa McWheeze. It's just meant to be silly. It has good rhyme scheme. It has all the parts of speech. It has nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. So give it a listen. It's called Grandpa McWheeze. I'm Grandpa McWheeze, and I do as I please. I'm quite a remarkable fellow. I stand on my head while I butter my bread or paint my rhinoceros yellow. I'm building a boat I've designed not to float. I frequently read in the shower. I play two bassoons that I fashioned from prunes. I tango in barrels of flour. I'm Grandpa McWheeze. I tie springs to my knees. I live in a hollow old tree. I wear snakes on my neck, and I sort of suspect there are very few grandpas like me. So, if I show you the way that Jack Prelutsky rhymed this, he had McWheeze and please, those rhymed, and then he rhymed fellow, he wrote the word fellow, but he didn't rhyme it until the last line. So he had McWheeze, please, fellow, had bread, yellow. So the rhyme scheme can alter. He also uses repetition. The first stanza, he starts with I'm Grandpa McWheeze, and the last stanza, he starts with I'm Grandpa McWheeze. And I had another one. Okay. This one's called It's Hard to Be an Elephant. There's many reasons that I love this one. It's hard to be an elephant, enormous, broad, and tall. I can't attend the cinema, the seats are all too small. It's practically impossible for me to board a bus. The tires often flatten, and the driver makes a fuss. I'm ushered out of luncheons, the waitresses are rude. They fume, we cannot feed you, you'll finish all our food. I'm drawn to play the piano, but I'm daunted when I play. I tend to be ungainly, and my ears get in the way. My trunk is far too powerful, no sooner do I sneeze, than windows crack and shatter from the impact of the breeze. I'm plagued by a peculiar, purely pachydermal plight. I find no socks and underwear that fit precisely right. So when it says, I'm plagued by a peculiar, purely pachydermal plight, that is an alliteration. All of those words start with the p sound and with the letter P. Yeah. That's a good one. Can we do one more? There's so many good ones, it's hard to... I'm going to read this one because it's Friday and we're all might be going all stir crazy at home. It's called I Got Out of Bed. I got out of bed, sensing something was strange, and swiftly discerned that I'd gone through a change. My smile in the mirror reflected a frown. The head on my shoulders had turned upside down. The mirror revealed that I wasn't quite me. My eyes filled the space where my lips used to be. My upside-down ears seemed unwieldy and weird, and the hair on my head had the look of a beard. If I should go out in the rain, I suppose the water would fill my unfortunate nose. The only advantage I find in my head, it taught me one lesson. Don't get out of bed. This picture of a kid. We got that upside down. Silly. Poetry, it can have a deep meaning and a great theme and teach you a message. Or like this, it could just be for fun, which I like. I like the poetry that's for fun. But you all wrote really great factual poems about Sylvia Mendez with great figurative language. You should be proud of yourselves. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Let's finish with our story keeps. I'm going to have to clean that up. Okay. All right. I have a moon and a sheep, which could go along with the last poem we just read about not getting out of bed because you go to bed at night and sometimes people tell you to count sheep. So do a one-sentence story tell starting with moon or sheep, or maybe research sheep or phases of the moon, or if there's going to be a full moon this month and when it's going to be. A lot of times things like full moons. So the moon is what pulls the tides in and out of the ocean, and it actually has an impact on some things that happen on Earth. So maybe you can Google the effects of the moon on the Earth. Carefully Google, of course. All right, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Until next time, it's Miss G. See you soon.